All right, so welcome to Doushin Talk. My name is Gadu. Thank you so much for joining. So this is a part of a Heart of Giving Day, and of course, Heart of Giving Day is a day that to cultivate, heart of giving, for you and for me. And I just posted today on my blog the groups that we are supporting through the fundraiser. They just posted the flyer for this summer's kind of a retreat. So it's kind of a nice to see like what's going on. So I explained just a little bit, what they are doing and stuff like that. And I'm also working on translating their last year's report, but it's a little slow in the progress. So at some point you might see that too. All right, so today's topic it's a Japanese word called kokorozashi. Kokorozashi is a Japanese word for kind of a higher aspiration. So let me show you the Chinese character for it. So this is the character of kokorozashi, or sometimes pronounced shi as well. And so you probably start getting familiar with this kind of a character. So the top one is this character. This is pronounced shi. And this character means often used for warriors, like a bushi, that's a samurai warrior. So the shi is a warrior, but also this means like kind of a learned person, so people with a higher aspiration. So then the Chinese character and the bottom part is of course is a kokoro, or pronounced shin. And that's the heart and mind in Japanese. So then this character of kokorozashi is heart of warrior, or heart of a person with a higher aspiration. So sometimes it's translated as a resolution, or higher aspiration. But it's really like the kokorozashi itself, it's not just aspiration, but it's a higher aspiration. It's kind of implied in this word. So in our practice, we use the term I, that means consciousness or mind, our intention. But usually in Japanese word, I is not used as independently, and usually mixed with this word as Ishi. And this means will, or actually this itself means kind of a resolution. Your mind, your will to do something. So the word kokorozashi is, it's very important. And I got kind of inspired to talk about this I get inspiration from so many different places. Sometimes from movies or a book, or sometimes from a comic book. And this actually interesting phrase that I saw in Japanese comic book. And it said, it's not despair that make people stop, but it's when they stop when they give up. It's not hope that keep people moving forward, but it's the heart of resolution. And it just really struck me, struck my chord, because I've been kind of thinking about, as you know, I've been talking about, in my blog and video about, how to become a healer, that kind of stuff. And it's sometimes very difficult to communicate what healing is. And people come with so many different kind of expectation for healing. And, I find the path of healing, it's not an easy one, for everyone. And you need to have a very strong sense of resolution, and will to keep going. A lot of times people come with a sense of hope, because people have, either whether you become, want to be healed or you want to be a healer, a lot of times people come with a sense of hope. But hope is not enough. It's a good place to start, but when people come with hope, they run out of it very fast when things doesn't happen the way they want. So the people I've seen succeed in the healing and this path is people who just keep going. They let go of the expectation. They just keep going. And sometimes people come with this idea that healing is like medicine, like a Band-Aid. When there's a scratch, then you put the Band-Aid on, Or when you have a headache, you take some medicine. But healing is not like that. Sometimes healing works that way too. But healing is a lifelong journey, and it's about self-discovery. So when people actually come with that idea that you just need healing, when you have a little something going on, and then, you go back to their normal life when the healing is over, that doesn't work that way. Because there is no going back. Because healing is the same as changing. Without transformation, there is no healing. So when your body is working normally, in a way, when your ki is out of balance, you get sick. And that's your body functioning normally. When you're out of balance and you are not getting sick, then that's abnormal. And sometimes the abnormal condition will persist long. Then your body starts sending the message saying, like, you got to do something. And that's when you get cancer or something big happens. Because you've been ignoring all these signals that your body has been sending. So then, getting back to normal, or going back to the previous pattern of life is out of question, because whatever it is, this previous pattern is making you sick in the first place. So you have to let go of that expectation, or just let go of the idea of going back to their normal life. Because there is no such a thing. The only way to heal is to find a new life, new way of being. So, these are the things that, it's hard to explain to people, because people come with the different ideas, and sometimes, different healers might project this idea that, oh, you only need healing when you get sick, and then, oh, you don't need to continue anymore when it's done, or something like that. But my experience as a healer is really that, so that's why I consider job of a healer is a guide, guide in this, lifelong journey of healing. And people come with the idea of healing as achieving something, and that's also tricky, because when people are thinking of just achieving, when their physical condition, physical symptom going away, they achieved something, Because when that doesn't happen, they consider themselves failure, And they set very short, sighted thing, because they only think about short period of time. They feel like they have to heal like within like a year, or within 2 months, or maybe some people come for one healing session, and then they think like, oh, am I going to be healed? Sometimes it happens, because sometimes you hear about those spontaneous remission and type of things, and people expect that's going to happen every time, but that doesn't happen every time. Even my, teacher, Master Len, even talk about it. It's only happened to like a 5%, maybe, or less. With all the healing that he have done, that's kind of what he have seen. And even then, there is no guarantee this physical condition will stay that way. If you don't change the life patterns, even momentary For example, your cancer have gone away. It might come back again, you know. So then what's important is keep going no matter what, you know. Or healing is not proving something to someone. Sometimes I've seen people come, they told me, you know, I want to prove that this kind of healing, you know, he wanted to prove to a medical people that this type of healing will work. And I told him, don't. Because that comes from his ego. You know, our ego, that I want to prove something to someone, you know. But healing is not about proving something. It's really going deep into yourself and knowing yourself, learning how you work, you know. Not about generally how human body work. You know, there's a general part and there's a specific to each person, you know. And what you need might not be the same as what other people need, you know. So learning about who you are and what you are is what healing is about. So when you are on the path of healing, and when you decide this is the path I'm going to be, you know, you have this strong will and resolution, then whatever challenge happening in your life is like, oh, okay, so this is in my path of healing. This is, you know, it's a moment that I'm going to learn something. Either learn to change my path, you know, change the way I do things, or need to learn new skill. You know, so then your mindset will change. When the things doesn't go the way you want to, you know, okay, in my path of healing, this is time, maybe I'm expecting something unreasonable. You know, then I can shift my expectation, or I just need to be more patient. You know. So if you think about it that way, there's no failure. It's just your path. You can't fail, you know. Only people who feel their failure is when they have come with a certain expectation, or sometimes it's a wishful thinking, right? Somehow, you know, this healer is magically just move their hand around, and the boom, you know, all their trouble going away. That's just a wishful thinking, you know. Healing is about what you do to yourself, how you're going to change. And they have to work on it themselves, you know. And there's a healer is there to support their path of healing. But they can't make healing happen. So when you have this sense of resolve or kokorozashi, you just keep going no matter what, you know, because your life is healing. You know, healing is your life. So sometimes you might stop, that's okay. Sometimes you feel discouraged, and that's normal, you know. And sometimes you stop and look back and look around and feel lost, and that's fine too. But at the end of the day, you have to keep going, you know. But when you give up, then you just stay in the spot when everything else is actually moving, because nothing ever stops, you know. And sometimes we say, I'll try something, you know. I'm trying to do something without actually doing. It's like just stepping, you know, pretending like you're moving and staying in a one spot. I'm trying to move forward. And we do that too, you know. And that's okay sometimes. But at the end of the day, we have to keep moving. So having the resolve, is a very important part. And let go of expectation and you really accept it. Whatever the challenge that comes in your life, it's just a part of your path. So that's how we keep going. And that's the path of healing. So today I'm going to guide you in a meditation. I want you to feel this sense of, sense of resolve. So when we actually set our set our intentions, sometimes we say our hope, our wish. But instead, I always recommend people to imagine it's already finished, it's already completed, and you are thanking your guide. They're thanking for this to happen, instead of, my guide, please heal me, completely. Instead, I say, thank you for healing me completely. The difference is when you are wishing or when you have a hope, there's always in the backside of it is a doubt. I'm hoping this to happen, but it might not. But when you're actually thanking for this already completed, you let go of the hope and let go of the doubt completely. And because your E activate your ki, and ki of everywhere. So when you're setting, even though positive hope in your E, but when there's a doubt in the back side of it, that also activates your ki too. So when you let go of all that and just say thank you, thank you for making this happen. It's already happened. I'm just thanking you for that. So if you go with it, you're basically training your E, with sense of strong kokorozashi, strong resolve, so that you activate the ki that needed, activate the energy around you that's supposed to happen. So that's why it takes time, because we are conditioned to doubt. And doubt is not necessarily a bad thing. I talked about that before too. But knowing your doubt, then you can keep going. You're not ignoring your doubt. You're accepting your doubt. Accepting all the things that comes with it in the path of healing and path of growth. And then you just keep going. And you make the choice to keep going. And that's what this, kokorozashi is. All right, so let's find a comfortable position. And close your eyes. Put a gentle smile on your face. And relax. Be aware of your lifeline running from top of your head down to the bottom of your torso. And feel you are grounded and centered. Tuck your chin slightly in. Tip of your tongue gently touching the roof of your mouth. And you are breathing in and out through your nose with energy breathing. Keep your palms up if you can. Open your fingers a little and push your elbows out a little bit. Feel su. Imagine you are creating space inside for your ki to flow freely and most efficiently. If your feet are touching the floor, gently grab the floor with your toes or think about you doing that. And think about raising your thighs and knees. And think about raising your hands and your arms. and feel your ingen. You're both physical and spiritual being, and your awareness is somewhere in between. In this fuzzy and distant feeling, bring your focus to your lower tanden. See the soft mist of light shining there. And say in your mind your heart opening password. And feel your connection to everything there is beyond time and space. And you surrender yourself to this feeling. And with deep respect and gratitude, ask your guide to come and help you. And invite your guide to come march together with you. See your guide appears in front of you, and you and your guide are marching together as one. And feel you are your guide. As your guide, notice how you feel. Notice how you are holding your body, how you are holding your mind, how you are holding your spirit. And your kokoro is open. And you set your E clearly. Say in your mind your intention, your purpose, and your path. When you set your E, you set it as if it's already completed. So you can start with my guide. Thank you so much for such and such. And you end with saying, I love you, I appreciate you, and I thank you. And repeat it 3 times. Notice how your E is your resolution, your higher aspiration, your kokorozashi. Your physical healing, or mental, or even spiritual healing, it's just a part of it, part of this resolution. This is your path, your life of healing. As you set your E, you accept all the challenges that may come to you on your path. Because you already know you have completed. So you can accept everything as an opportunity to growth. And notice how your E is resonating with everything there is, not just your body. And with your E, everywhere, Ki is activated. And feel you are guided and supported in each step you take on your path. So you don't have to worry. You don't need to fear failure. It's just your path. Visualize your path of healing, path of enlightenment, path of unconditional love. Sometimes the path may be flat. Sometimes the path is uphill. Sometimes path is bumpy. Sometimes even tricky, like slippery or even dangerous. But this is your path. And when you feel guided, you don't need to hurry. You don't need to be overcautious. You just take one step at a time with feeling of joy and peace. You can be happy on this path. With contentment and full of gratitude. And you may notice this path of healing haven't started when you were born. You may be on this path even before that. So your path of healing doesn't end when you die. It may keep going. So feel this feeling of being guided, being on your path, enjoying each step, taking in every scenery. And with each breath, feel you are letting go of your attachment to your physical body. Letting go of this idea that healing is all about physical healing. And with each breath, you let go of your attachment to your mind. And you let go of the idea that healing is about healing of your mind. And with each breath, you let go of your attachment to your spirit, to all the information about who you are and what you are. As you let go of all the attachment, your kokoro is open. And feel your connection to your soul. And connection to everything there is. You are part of everything. And everything is part of you. And everything is constantly flowing, constantly resonating and transforming. And feel everything is precious. Everything is sacred. And you accept everything with your unconditional love. And this feeling of deep resonance. You are the path, and path is you. And now this meditation is yours. And this meditation is slowly coming to the end. Gently bring your focus to your heart. See the beautiful soft light shining in your heart. And your kokoro is open. And you're resonating with everything there is. And once again, feel you are guided and supported in each step you take on your path. And notice how good you feel physically, mentally, and spiritually. And in this light, say thank you to your guide for all the guidance, unconditional love, and blessings. And with deep gratitude, ask your guide to come back and help you again anytime you need it. And see your guide coming out of you, and with smile, going back to wherever your guide came from. And gently bring this light down to your lower tanden. See the soft, hazy light shining there. And the light is spinning, spinning, spinning as an energy ball. It's spinning faster and faster. Getting smaller and smaller. And see, the light is getting condensed into a tan. And you tuck it deep in your lower tanden. And with joy, take 3 gentle deep breaths. And slowly open your eyes. And rub your hands together. Activate your hands and fingers. And massage your face. Cup top of your head. Cup base of your head. And massage your C7. Massage your temples. Make circular motion with your fingers or your fist, but don't press too hard. And massage your ears. All right. How you feel? Good. So when I think of my life, how I became healer, I never really had like any talent to begin with, Like I've never was a psychic or none of that. I've never seen a ghost or, felt that kind of a special experience when I was a kid or anything. But somehow healing, just, I know this was my path, So whether I have a talent or not wasn't much of an issue. I just had this feeling that like this is what I have to do. So that's where I'm going. Of course, along the way I had a lot more doubt too. Can I do this or not? Can I be a professional healer or not? But just feeling of this drive that kept me going, this resolve, this will to keep going. in some way, I feel I can explain things better to people because I don't have that talent. Because people with talent, they can do things without thinking about it, so they can't explain to others, you know. But for me, I had to think about everything in order to like each step, like, oh, what is this step? What does this feel like? What is this like? How can I explain that to other people? So that's why I became who I am. So whether you want to heal yourself or, want to be a healer, that talent is just the one little portion of things, by your kokorozashi, how you want to heal others or heal the world, not just yourself. Heal your family and spread unconditional love everywhere. When you have that kokorozashi, and just keep going, one step at a time, and things will happen eventually. There was a joke, kind of a quiz and joke, when I heard when I was in high school, long time ago. It said, in Africa, there is a tribe, and they dance to call on the rain. Is this true? And the answer was, yes, it's true, because they keep dancing until it rains. So that's how we have to be. If we want to make rain, we just have to keep dancing until it rains. We just have to keep going. That's how we are. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. As always, I love you. I appreciate you. And I thank you. So until next time. Goodbye for now.